The velvet moment is in our eyes. Primitive urge, feel the primitive urge. The senses in the air. The fire moves us. The pleasure yearn. Hunger is rage, need is a vision. Underneath your dress.
Sex lusts you.
Sex lusts you.
Screams, shocks, and horror await you in the pages of Drive-In Asylum, an independent, print-only publication dedicated to fantastic films. They write about them, they obsess over them, they talk to the people who made them. These cinematic nightmares that still haunt your dreams. They come to life again in Drive-In Asylum. And you remember when you looked in the newspaper to find movies that would terrify you, yes? You'll find pages and pages of these newsprint terrors in each issue of Drive-In Asylum. Come with us back to a time when the drive-in, the grindhouse, or your late-night TV were the places you encountered ghastly creatures of all persuasions. For information about how to order, go to driveinasylum.com or visit Strange Vice UK or Forbidden Planet in New York to purchase Drive-In Asylum, your fantastic film connection. To avoid fainting, keep repeating, it's only a fanzine, only a fanzine, only a fanzine, only a fanzine.
You've heard of raising spirits from the dead by incantations, right? I did that by playing a record backwards.
These evil people have just got to be stopped.
What have you done to your stereo?
I wanted the new one.
Trick or Treat, rated R. Starts Friday, October 24th at theaters everywhere.
I've been seeing things. Hallucinations about Mary Lou Maloney. That girl who died at our school.
Mary Lou Maloney is back for the prom. And she's going to make sure it's a night you'll never want to remember. Hello, Mary Lou. Prom night 2. Rated R.
Starts Friday at a theater near you. Check newspapers for showtimes.
Check here for showtimes, and it's going to be sometime in the very near future. We're going to be doing both of those films.
If you wonder who would have picked those two movies, especially Trick or Treat. a movie that I will defend.
You like that a lot more than I do, but I don't hate it.
I love it so much.
I just don't love it as much as you, but I mean, I still like it.
Oh,
I'm
I
not
love it.
upset about doing it.
Oh, I can, man. It has an even better Italian title, Death at 33 RPM, which is a great title.
Should have been the title of the film.
Yeah, it's got a great poster, too, of a heart getting put onto a turntable with a skeletal hand dropping a stylus down on it. It looks really cool. But, man, yeah. Both movies great. I love Prom Night 2 way more than any of the other Prom
Yeah.
Night movies.
I like
Yeah.
Prom Night 2 more than Trick or Treat.
Yeah. I love Prom Night 2. Way more than Prom Night. But not as much as Trick or Treat. Oh, Sammy Kerr. My favorite. Oh, man. But anyway.
Definitely more than the original Prom Night. I mean, I really hate the original Prom Night, kind of.
I'm right there with you. So, Nora didn't like it. That's okay.
I love that you didn't like it, Nora, because I knew you weren't going to like it.
Yeah. I like this movie, but I also see why you didn't like it, but I like it. I don't know why. I just really enjoy this movie a lot because it's just, and it's probably for the same reasons I like Exorcist 2, where it's like people are like, "This is what we got." Yeah, it is, and you know, in a pre-social media time, no one could tweet about it.
I like this movie a hell of a lot. I like it more and more every time I see it. I admit that I was just expecting something as great as the original. You're not going to get that in this, obviously, but I think what is there is very intriguing. I love the direction that they went with this, actually, because, you know, even if it was a TV movie, there was still it was a pretty sinister concept that they had, especially the part at the end where Donna Mills rapes Adrian just to get his baby. That was kind of
scary. I wish that I had a bunch of followers that would just sit around, and when I cold call people to tell them to do shit for me, they would just be like, Hail Satan in the background, just like whisper Hail Satan in the background to ensure that I get what I want done. And what I want is for Paul Newman to be blinded.
That's crazy. I can't even believe that was a line in the film.
Yeah, they're like, you know, like you can get a clipping service for PR where they'll pull clips of mentions of you on TV. Like Paul Newman the next day was like, "Well, you got mentioned in this Rosemary's Baby movie that non-John Cassavetes wants to blind you." Bill and I talked about this too near the end, like, and I think most people will agree with me and with us in chat. They should just ask John Cassavetes. I don't think he would have turned this movie down. He would have been like, "I'm trying to make love streams and I need money, and it's going to be either work with Canon or." Not that Canon was a thing yet. You know, it's like 4 years away. But, you know, he made The Fury. I mean, he probably would have made this.
Yeah. Well, especially since there were 4 Oscar winners in the cast.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I need to make my own movies. So, yeah, there's a lot of, I do agree with Mike, too. He is very Vincent D'Onofrio in this.
True. I thought he was channeling Jim Morrison during the shock rock sequences, personally, especially the way he was dancing. It reminded me of some of those, you know, iconic images of Jim Morrison. From that
also, non-John Cassavetes can just pick up live wires and jam them into dude's chest to kill them.
Can we talk about that? What the hell was that about?
I like that it paused the guy in the window. Like, it was literally like they paused reality and showed him in the window. And he was like, well, I got to get on stage and be big Jim Morrison. And they're like, okay. Your friend that wanted to take you to church got electrocuted. I like that by rebelling, his rebellion was to go to church, that's how it would work. Also, Nora, this is not the worst Patty Duke sequel. I mean, she's in Amityville 4. Which I would say is not as good as this. So, you know,
she sank
Patty
lower
Duke,
than Look What's Happened to Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah, Patty Duke was like, I have multiple personalities. Maybe she did have multiple personalities. So who knew? not to make light of her mental issues, but which personality took this role? You know, which one was she going to be in? So,
Purple Lady.
yeah.
Now she's in purple. Now she's a turtle. Disintegrating Christine.
I think Minnie and Roman got it. The answer. This is my answer to Mike. What weren't they ready to die by the end of the first one? Now they're kicking it to Adrian's adulthood. I think they got a second lease on life when they saw that hooved baby come out. But are we to think that Adrian is not like a hooved baby, like as we're led to believe, and he doesn't have weird eyes, like he's just kind of normal, you know?
Yeah,
And
but I mean these abilities seem to come and go. Like when his eyes would glow red,
yeah,
then something happened. Like we never really
the knee
saw.
baby looks perfectly fine that we get to see at the end credits if you stuck around, till the end credits. And what happened to Patty Duke? Tracy asked. I think that once she got on the bus, she was just like stuck in this like limbo of the bus between heaven and hell.
It was
And
like the
Earth.
Phantom Zone in Superman. And
Yeah.
Superman 2, she was just floating around going, Andrew.
Yeah. Terrence Stamp was there with her. But yeah, and Tina, who knows what happened to Tina Louise, who
she died in the accident that happened off screen in between when Guy Woodhouse killed his friend Peter. A subtle move there. Pete,
if this were to be made today, this would be an HBO series that would last 2 seasons, and then they would take it off HBO Max so you couldn't watch it. But I think they would get into a lot more of the stuff.
This was intended to be a series.
Yeah, it feels like a series. Like there's a lot more story that they didn't get to that they would have got to.
He just sort of runs off at the end and is having this episode of Who Am I? It was just a very 70s thing.
He would have totally done the Bill Bixby thing, like wander from town to town.
Exactly.
Like, he's being searched by, the coven is looking for him, and
it could be like Kung Fu except with Satanism.
I love it. Also, they did not hire him for his running abilities because he runs like he doesn't really run. He just kind of like tries to get. He took if a car was coming at me, he did like a shuffle step to get away from the car and then rolled over the other car next to him. Like that whole sequence was ridiculous, but I was there for it. I'd watch a series of this. It probably last 10 episodes, and the last 3 would only air in Europe. And we'd all be like, man, I got to get that Shop Factory box set of the only 10 episodes of Rosemary's Son, the series.
We could only dream. I mean, it would have been one of those series. Like I always say that about Salem's Lot, which had its own weird ending that they came up with for the movie that had nothing to do with the book and didn't even really make sense. But it was a setup for a continuing series. And I thought, wow, could you imagine if we just got like 6 episodes of Salem's Lot, the series?
Yeah. And Vince does remind me that he was also Hollis Mason in Watchmen, the Night Owl #1, but he's a major character in the Zack Snyder Watchmen movie. It's another the same actor that played Adrian. So I dig it though. I mean, it's crazy that they made it.
It was pretty ambitious to follow up a movie like Rosemary's Baby with a TV film. And, Stephen McHattie said that Sam Osteen sort of thought he was making this grand sort of statement. Like, even though it's a TV movie, it's going to be great. So that was what was kind of cynical about his doing this Q&A, was he really just did not seem to have much respect at all for this.
Now, to be fair, movies like Salem's Lot and Duel played theaters.
Yeah.
Some in Europe, Duel was re-released in theaters, and just because it's a TV movie isn't like a completely ghettoized form of. I love the idea that there's a one-armed devil he's searching for him. 100% into that. So
that part really distressed me about his whole search for his history. He doesn't really remember Rosemary even. She's just like this distant memory that he has. And oh, what a horrible moment. That was the worst part of the movie, was when she gets on that bus and suddenly they're separated. And
well, later when we see her on the bus and she's almost like zombified on
mhm.
the bus when he has the flashbacks. Did you watch the Rosemary's Baby miniseries that they did a couple years ago?
No, I didn't.
No. I have the DVD and I still haven't watched it.
You know, there's a new Salem's Lot coming out, and it keeps getting
Yeah.
like delayed and delayed and delayed. So that's kind of maybe not going to happen. I don't know.
Yeah, I heard it's not going to happen.
Oh
It's kind of
no.
like, what's the same thing? Like they keep being like, oh, we're going to make a Escape from New York movie that's like kind of like a reimagining, or maybe it's not, and it gets close, and then it never happens. And every once in a while it gets close. I'm like, I'm cool with it not happening.
There are people that want to see it though, and that's a bummer.
I
It's not
know.
going to happen.
Yeah, maybe not me. You know, well, once they finish up these next 3 Exorcist movies that David Gordon Green's going to do, maybe like, I'm going to make Rosemary's Baby.
What a time to be alive when there's going to be 3 new Exorcist films, and Ellen Burstyn and Linda Blair signed on to this somehow.
You're going to die up there tonight is the tagline for the first one.
I mean, are both of them going to be in all 3 of these movies?
I don't know. You know, we're going to go the first night. Like, there's no way that Becca's not going to go the first night. And I'm going to look over to her about 25 minutes into it. And she's going to be so upset. You know?
I can't wait to catch up with Chris McNeil. What has she been doing all this time? How is her career? How did her career go?
Yeah.
Did she ever win an Oscar? Tell us about Chris McNeil.
I think that, yeah, she's become like a major actress. Like, she's like the what do you, I don't know. I was gonna say Sharon Gless. That's not a good. I don't know. Whoever the
Sharon
Gless.
That's how I know that we're soulmates, because the name Sharon Gless just rolls right off your tongue.
Yeah, she's like the most important actress of her generation, and like it's like a deep dark secret that her daughter. Once I was possessed, but now I'm better. Or whatever she says in that one scene. Yeah, Bo Derek, the greatest actress of our generation. My hatred of Bolero makes me hate 10. I watched 10 this week, and I'm like, fuck, I hate Bo Derek.
I read that. I was like, how could you say that about 10? I felt like having a Siskel and Ebert moment with you. I love 10.
Do you? I just don't like it. It's just so...
It's really funny. I think it's funny.
I don't know. It just feels like kind of like... Jamie Gillis is in it, so there's that, you know. There's Desiree Costeau's in it. There's a lot of adult...
Julie Andrews is so funny in 10. She's 10's secret weapon.
I don't like... The only... See, I think of Dudley Moore as his character in... what's the first Chevy Chase Goldie Hawn movie? Not Seems Like Old Times, but the first one. Whatever. But he's like the guy who's like the smarmy guy that tries to get her into his room and has the spinning bed and all that stuff. And yeah, Ghost Can't Do It, Beth, is the worst movie ever made. Foul Play, thank you, Mike. But Ghost Can't Do It is probably my least favorite movie ever, because even in the credits at the end it says, yes, that's really Donald Trump who's in it, and he has like a whole line of dialogue where he's like, there are knives that can hurt you in this room and hearts that are hard, or like whatever he says to her, and he's like, you're the best person I've ever met in the boardroom. And Bo Derek's like, oh, thank you. Meanwhile, Anthony Quinn's in like a fucking light chamber and they're trying to possess a ghost. Fuck that whole movie. I hate that movie so much. I hate Bolero. I hate Tarzan the Ape Man. I hate the Bo Derek card set that I have somewhere downstairs.
Oh my God. I forgot about Tarzan the Ape Man. I watched that on HBO.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I don't know. Is this supposed to be hot? And it was
That's
weird.
The same thing. As a kid, I was told Bolero, it was like the urban legend, of like of like all kids talking about, right? Like, it's like, this is the hottest movie ever. Like, even more than Caligula. No kid should be watching Caligula. But anyway, like, it was really talked up. And then I saw it and I was like, it's not really that good. So, but Foul Play's really good. That's an HBO favorite for me. and Dudley Moore's really funny in it. He's kind of just like a perverted creep that's trying to get with Goldie Hawn, but Goldie Hawn of that era is like an untouchable dream of my childhood. Like that's when I was a kid. Like Goldie Hawn's really great. You know what I mean? Like I like looking at her. Like that's what girls are gonna be like when I grow up. I do hate Anthony Quinn too. Thanks, Chris. I do. But just because a ghost can't do it. Like after that, that's a movie that like ruins everybody that's in it is like tainted by it. So like when I watch him in like Requiem for a Heavyweight, I'm like, I hate Anthony Quinn. I don't like him. So yeah, so maybe don't watch that. That said, Sam J. Jones is in 10. I don't hate him because he's in it. Brian Dennehy's pretty good in 10.
Oh, Brian Dennehy is so dreamy in 10.
I knew that you would say that. He is wonderful in 10. But I know that scene you're talking like, why you were like, why are you bothering with Bo Derek? Like, just hang out with
with
Brian
you
Dennehy.
Know why I like 10 now. The secret is out.
Yeah, the secret's out. There's the one funny part I will say is when the preacher, when he tries to find out who the girl is, and he's talking to the preacher, and the preacher decides to play him his own music. That seems pretty funny. There's some cute stuff in it, but I just,
I love that whole part where he fell down the hillside.
Oh, what's crazy is that George Segal was going to be the Dudley Moore part and filmed all the stuff in Mexico. Like he had already filmed like a week or two of the movie. And when they got back to LA, all the scenes with Julie Andrews' character, like dancing and like her little subplot, he was like the Blake Edwards. He's like, you're just trying to help your wife restart her career. Like, I don't want to be part of that. And he quit. So like he got sued and had to pay like $250,000. And like, and also George Segal was going to play Arthur too. Like George Segal and Dudley Moore do not seem interchangeable at all. So like, why does this happen? Anyways,
it was fate.
It was fate. That has nothing to do with Rosemary's Baby, but just a little.
Look what's happened to this segment.
Yeah, this is a third segment conversation in the second segment. That's how it works. I really like the scene of them putting the makeup on Adrian too, where they're like kind of doing his eyes and like the ritualistic nature of that scene. That's pretty good too.
Yeah, that thing with the eyes was so creepy.
Yeah,
and
it's kind of like Janus, like the two-headed god kind of thing. Like there's like the duality of stuff, and then they even mention him bringing like a child of light at one point, which that's what Lucifer is. He's the light bringer. So they get a little bit of occultism and a little bit of devil stuff into it, which is cool. The other thing Bill and I talked about is like we really dug that Donna Mills is like the new face of Satanism, where she's like, she even says to him, she's like, she's like, this has been around since the beginning of time, and these aren't really bad people. They're just trying to balance it.
They're just on the other side.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Jedi. Like when you're a kid, you're like, oh, the Sith Lords in Star Wars are evil. No, they're just trying to balance the Force. It seems like reactionary bullshit. Like, yeah, she's like, they're just on the other side. And, I'm here to do my job. And now I'm going to sexually assault you. But it's cool. Don't worry about it. Also, this gets in something that I love in every occult movie of the 70s. Science trying to figure out what's wrong. So they put all those cotton balls all over Adrian's head. And they just hook wires up to his afro. And
Juliet Mills had a much better setup in Beyond the Door than Adrian.
I thought he was going to go Patrick Still Lives and just send an iron bar through Donna Mills' vagina, and that didn't happen. So, yeah, I like that she's just trying to like talk him through it. Everything's cool. It's easy. Don't worry. And then she assaults him. Then he wakes up and she gets hit by a car when he jumps out of the way, but she's perfectly fine and goes to the obstetrician, and the baby's fine.
How did they know she was pregnant? I mean, I assume that doctor scene at the end where Minnie and Roman were waiting to talk to the doctor about her, like that was the next day, wasn't it?
Couldn't they have got Charles Grodin from the first movie to be the doctor? Wouldn't that have been the best
again?
If it's like you don't see him, he's like, you just hear his voice, and they pull in, it's him, and he hands him the paperwork. I'd be like, fuck, that's a great cameo.
Yeah. Sadly, nobody thought of that was involved with the production, or else Charles Grodin might have cost too much.
Yeah, he's like, well, he would have been, they couldn't have put him in a square because he's a surprise too, right?
That's true. Yeah, if it was a cameo.
Yeah.
This movie
I
did
mean,
not have lofty aspirations like that. But I think what it did. Oh, did you notice? I don't know if anybody else noticed this. The the castle casino. That's that
yeah,
whole thing. What is that? Not the castle from Blood of Dracula's Castle?
I really think it is.
It's got to be the same place. There's that one establishing shot, and it looks exactly like Blood of Dracula's Castle. So,
How
okay.
how cool would it be to grow up in a casino? Like that seems pretty rad, right?
I don't know. You'd end up like, driving a really fancy car around the desert and getting your friends to accept your tickets and, raising hell.
Yeah, and like, what do you guys want to do to blow up some steam? Oh, let's go to a church. Oh, okay.
Listen,
My too good horrible mother died in an accident. Whatever. I like that they're like debating like how she's going to take care of the kid. It's like the worst parent would probably be the best parent for the Antichrist, right? Like, haven't we already figured that out? Bill also asked me, did I find Tina Louise attractive? And I went back to that old paradigm of I find Dawn Wells more attractive. Like, there's not other people out in the world, but like when you discuss the two of them, it can only be one or the other. So, in case anybody wonders there.
Dawn Wells sold T-shirts that were like that. It said Ginger and Marianne was checked off.
I'm more Dawn Wells, Town of Dreaded Sundown. Dawn Wells.
I love that she was in that.
I love that she's in it. You're like, oh, it's one of the most innocent TV characters ever, being menaced by an absolute maniac.
Well, he does a whole bunch of horrible things to her, but doesn't she live?
Yeah, she lives.
She survives.
Yeah.
She
Which is
gets
probably
away.
even worse.
I know. Yeah. She has to live with. She's like Laurie Strode for the rest of her life.
I love that town was like, you can shoot this movie here, and Charles Pierce is like, great, and we'll show it in the town. Yeah, and then he just like makes the most exploitative movie of things that happened in that town. Like, as far as anyone in that town knows, the Phantom Killer is still alive at the time that movie was made. You know what I mean? He'd be old, but he's probably still alive, and it just did it.
Exactly, Lee. It's in the script.
Yeah.
I don't think this story is that bad. I don't know why everybody thinks this is a bad movie. I'm really into this the way that this all unfolds. And Roman Castevet is just sort of like, Ray Milland phoning in another role. Did he play everything the same way?
I think he did his entire career. I really do.
So,
oh, my dear boy.
I love him in The Sea Serpent.
Oh, yeah.
That's a movie I would love to do on the show, but I don't think it's streaming anywhere, is it?
No.
Maybe on YouTube. I don't know. We should do
this. It's probably on OKRU, the Russian hack site that has everything that I don't want to give people the viruses that are on my computer to watch it on a Russian streaming site.
I'm just saying, I may have just a few weeks ago done a digital rip of my VHS tape of The Sea Serpent.
Oh, well, maybe somehow we may end up watching that then.
I'm just saying. I have the Lightning Video Sea Serpent VHS.
Oh, wow. Those words are sexy. So
Lightning Video.
Yeah.
Gorgon Video, Wizard Video.
Oh. Hey, I only got 2 movies in the mail this week, so I may as well show them while we're talking about
Vestron Video.
Cauldron Video. These came out with slipcases, but now they're coming out without them. Convoy Busters, which is really good. Plesioteca movie. And I love this movie, Fighting Fists of Shanghai Joe. These both came out without slipcovers, but they're out. And if you come to the drive-in, I might be given... This one's spoken for. This one might not be. So, actually, I think they're both spoken for. I actually am going to have a box full of movies at the drive-in. So come up and say, hey, you have any movies? And I'll say, maybe. Give me the secret password. And we'll trade movies.
The promo code?
The promo code is I don't know. Some Illuminati hand signal will do.
Everything's a promo code these days.
Oh, scan the QR code on my shirt, and you'll get it. Yeah, but
did you notice I put a QR code in the Drive-In Asylum commercial?
I loved it. You know, it's so funny. QR codes blow my mind because, like, for years, all these designers I worked with were like, "Why did we ever do that?" And I'm like, "They're going to come back," and they're like, "No, they're not," and they totally have. Because they're easy now that we have phones. Now it's a lot easier. But when they first came out, they didn't work as well. Now they work. Pandemic helped too, because a lot of people would have them to scan menus and stuff like that.
I confess, I only recently started considering to use QR codes because I didn't know how it worked. So I used to have this old shitty phone that it never worked on. So now I actually realized, oh, it works okay now on the
it's convenient.
newish phone.
Yeah.
I hate I hate having to buy a new phone all the time, having to worry about when am I going to have to get another phone. So
I'm like 5 years on this phone, and I'm like, all I need to do is text. If I can text you stuff about movies in the middle of the night and like surf the internet, that's really all I need, right? Do I need anything else?
Yes. Everything is on your phone these days.
Yeah. I don't need like a super fancy camera though, and like people are the ones that have like 4 different things. I'm like, oh, fuck that. I don't need that. I just want to text and be able to call people.
I admit I do like taking fancy pictures, especially if you can get a nice macro lens on your phone.
Yeah.
And my friend
Nora said this is in her top 5 worst. Sorry, Bill, to interrupt.
Oh,
I can think of, or I can blow your mind with some really bad movies. Like there's some that 1999 Laurel and Hardy remake with Bronson Pinchot as Stan Laurel. I will say 100 times, a billion times worse.
I knew Nora was going to be offended by this movie.
Yeah.
Nora, come on.
Yeah, I can think of some really bad movies if you'd like. That's what I think about with the med beds. Like when I read the Golden Turkey Awards and they're talking about how bad these movies are, and I'm like, these movies aren't even scratching the surface of bad. I don't know.
You know, I really have to say something too. This movie may not be your cup of tea. This sequel to Rosemary's Baby that was made for TV, you know, with a cast that just happened to have 4 Oscar winners in it. I might repeat. So, you know, there's this thing. But Ira Levin actually did write a sequel to Rosemary's Baby, and it was horrible. It was called Son of Rosemary. And it came out in like the late 90s. 99 maybe. And because I think it had something, he got it out before the millennium, you know, so it was that sort of factors into the book, if I remember.
How have we gotten this far without doing a Bobby Rhodes impression?
Do you want to do it?
You can do it.
No, you do it.
No, you do. I like it when you do it better.
What the hell happened to Rosemary?
That should be the title of this.
Look what happened to Rosemary's Baby.
Look what happened to Rosemary.
She got driven away on a bus, which was a horrible fate for her. She was a nice woman.
Yeah. I would say, oh man. I like Slaughter, Vomit Dolls, and Manos, The Hands of Fate. I really have no fucking taste. But anyway.
This kind of had that desert feel that Manos has, didn't it?
Yeah, it does. And that's what I like, the landlocked nature of this, that the majority of this movie happens in a casino in the middle of the desert, or like a mental institution close by, and like a seedy hotel. It's like really all the locations are very like in the void. Do you know what I mean? There's not a lot of people in this movie. Is this like an Argento movie where there's been a nuclear war?
I didn't mean you would be your sensibilities would be offended, Nora. I just mean that that you were gonna violently dislike it.
Oh, we're gonna show this next when we come back. We're gonna show it again, and Bill and I act like we never saw it before.
We're gonna do a best of DIA next week, and it's gonna be this.
It's gonna be this. When you go to the drive-in, it's gonna play 4 times, and then the child it plays 3 times, and then the child's the 4th movie.
The
And
child
then the
should be.
second night is just the child 4 times.
Yes.
Those dream
Okay.
night.
Yeah, that sounds good to me now.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you should show the child more times the first night, but if
Yeah.
there's gonna be a whole night of the child, I'm in.
Yeah. Did you like Hitchcock? I do. It's not my favorite Argento movie. But it's all right. It's very TV movie looking. I kind of realized that it's like as Argento makes movies near the end of his career, like he was never like his stories aren't his strong suit, and his strong suit to me was always the way that he composed shots and did crazy stuff or like the unreality stuff. So when he starts to make ordinary movies, they feel super ordinary because they don't have the camera trickery that he usually has. But I dig it. I like the Card Player a lot too. As I've said before, when Goblin played the theme for it, I'm the only person that stood up and started clapping like an asshole. I was like, Becca's like, sit down. Nobody likes the Card Player but you.
You were the one that was really in tune.
Yeah. You know what? I would love Mike's idea of Look What Happened to Rosemary's Baby's Baby with Donna Mills' kid. I would love that. I think that would be good.
If they had done a series, they could have explored that baby's future too. We could be in we could have gotten at least 2 or 3 seasons out of Rosemary's Baby.
There was a TV series called Good versus Evil that was going to be like a very, like one family was like devoted to the Antichrist and one was devoted to religion. And it's on a lot of Mill Creek sets. And it's a very similar kind of idea too, that is this. And it's one of those ones where they did a 2-hour pilot, nobody bought it. Like, well, we got to air this on TV somewhere. And they just, that's the best part about late 70s, early 80s movies where it's just burn off pilots in the middle of summer.
Mm-hmm. They saved this one for Halloween.
Yeah. And, as a kid, I would always be like, oh, man. And, they'd always say in TV Guide, like, it's a pilot. And you're like, oh, man, this could be a series. And, it never happened. And it would just be heartbreaking. Or backdoor pilots on shows. Like, whenever, like, suddenly on Chips, there'd be a bunch of ninjas, Force 5. And you're like, oh, man, this could be a series too. No, it's not. It's just a backdoor pilot on Chips, Sam. Everything's okay.
And remember the Spider-Man TV series with Nicholas Hammond?
Yeah.
That was kind of, the series that I wanted to keep going, and it was just doomed from the beginning. It was a pilot, and then there weren't enough episodes for a full season, so they did like TV movies, and you're like, oh, is this going to be a regular thing? Like, no, they're done.
There's the 2 Captain America movies too that are like that too.
I liked those. I always forget about those.
With your Hunter from the Future as Cap, Reb Brown. Death Too Soon, the second one with Christopher Lee's pretty good. Actually, I really like that. That was a kind of golden time to be a comic book geek as a kid. You had like CBS had like the Spider-Man movies. They did Captain America, and then they had the Hulk every week. And you're like, man, I can't believe how good it is. I mean, they'll never make superhero movies this good again. Go figure. And look at it where we're at now. Yeah. Anytime any series that was vaguely genre-esque, like God, when the Master was on with Sho Kosugi and Lee Van Cleef, I would like tell my family like we can't go anywhere tonight because the Master's on, and 8 episodes later it was not on any longer. With Dick Van Patten's son was in it, a young kid learning how to be a ninja. So
Wonder Woman ended that way. I was really into Wonder Woman, and there was going to be. They set up all this stuff that was going to happen at the end of the 3rd season, and none of it happened. So instead of the series coming back, there were 2 2-hour TV movies, and
they did that with the Hulk too, and then they killed the Hulk off in the last one.
I remember that.
He falls out of an airplane and dies, and you're like, oh, and they were going to bring it back, and they never did. It's what the other series that was very heartbreaking to me as a kid was The Man from Atlantis, because I was like, oh man, this show, and then that's it. You get like 10 episodes.
I loved it too. The Man. I
wonder why you loved it. Who was your favorite character on Man from Atlantis?
Why?
The bad guy. What's his name? from oh, what the hell is his name? The guy who plays Doctor, what's his name is
I don't remember anything about this series other than that I watched it.
He's the piano tutor from the Betty Davis movie with Joan Crawford. What the hell?
Victor Buono.
Yeah, Victor Buono was the bad guy on Man from Mars.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh well, no wonder I liked it.
He was the scientist that was trying to capture him.
He was after Patrick Duffy. Well, no wonder. Of course, he was after Patrick Duffy.
Of course, he was.
Yeah.
That show was like a big deal. They had a Marvel comic for it and all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, surely this will be on for years. No, 8 episodes. There's like a whole bunch of shows like that from that era. Like Exo Man was another like fake Iron Man CBS TV movie. They were like just and the Doc Savage movie too. I was like, man, they're gonna make all these Doc Savages movies. No, they're not. They're gonna make one with Ron Eli, and that's it.
Wait, Doc Savage wasn't that 75? Yeah. That was the movie that they showed on TV instead of Black Christmas. Whenever they
George Powell directed.
Or Man of Bronze, I think it was. Called.
Yeah, I really like that movie a lot. But I'm also a big Doc Savage fan, so yeah. There's some great they didn't have the effects and the budgets to make superhero movies really, but they were trying, you know.
That was very ambitious to do back then. Even Wonder Woman even didn't really have that many great stunts in it, other than the one where she hung from a helicopter for real.
Yeah.
Oh my God, have you ever seen? You've seen that, right? It's terrifying, but I just always assumed it was a stunt woman, and then I realized later, like, no, that was really Linda Carter.
There's a similar stunt in at the end of Black Sunday, the Goodyear Blimp movie, you know, where the terrorists take over, try to destroy the Super Bowl, where like a helicopter is like dropping people onto the Goodyear Blimp and they're like sliding down it, and like you can tell like the way they shot it, there's no like harnesses or safety nets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like really upsetting to watch, like, because we live in a world now where you know it's CGI and you know that it's the safe stunt. I know nobody was hurt, but just seeing the danger of it was like, wow, this is crazy.
It's much more real.
And I agree, Vince. Like, Cliffhangers is one of my favorite series too.
Oh my God, Sam, you really love me when you bring up Cliffhangers?
Oh, dude, I remember the day after school when it would be on, I would just write my notebook like my ideas for future episodes of Cliffhangers. Like, I was so obsessed with it.
Cliffhangers ruled. And yeah, I would talk.
I love that it starts in the middle of a movie, the series. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like it starts with like episode 4. Like, that's awesome.
I would talk about it every morning. I walked to school, and there was a crossing guard that I would talk to about Cliffhangers. And every day after an episode, we would have cliffhanger kibitzes for like 5 minutes on the way to school.
Yeah,
it was, and I think that was the only other person I ever knew that watched it.
Oh, I was obsessed with it, and I remember being like, well, when they do a second season, they're either going to continue these stories or start new ones. I wonder what'll happen. And you didn't have the internet or anything; you had TV Guide, you know, and like that's the only way you'd find out if something happened. It's like, I guess we're not getting another.
Yeah, they ended at least like 1 or 2 of the storylines never had an ending in the series.
Yeah. And then, like, when you see they made, 2 movies of both Dracula and Susan Williams. Yeah. And those they aired on like 43, aired them like 1 in the afternoon, one Saturday. And I was like, we're not going anywhere. I said, my parents and I were watch this Cliffhanger.
The Curse of Dracula.
Curse of Dracula.
Michael Nora.
That's like 70. Yeah, 79 was like the year that Dracula came back. Between that and the Frank Langella. Dracula.
Yeah. Oh, I was a huge Dracula fan, so that was a big year for me. I was 9 years old.
That's the first time that I was worried that my mom was going to leave my dad, because like she would always talk about how hot Frank Langella was, and I'd never heard my mom discuss the attractiveness of another man. So I was like, I'm going to fucking stake Frank Langella. He's not going to steal my dad. Anyway.
What year was Cliffhangers on, Sam?
79.
Tracy. Yeah.
79.
Tracy must be just like
Yeah.
on the cusp of when it's interesting to hear different people's experiences. Like I never know what to explain because when I'm talking to somebody
Yeah.
sometimes, because you don't know what the other person has seen just because they're
Well, it's funny
a
because
little
like there are
older than
some
you or a little
series.
younger than you.
There are some series though, like if you bring up V, it's like something that everybody remembers. You know what I mean? But versus like Cliffhangers has a much more limited
Yeah.
audience. Not as many people watch it. You
Yeah,
know.
that's why obviously it didn't continue for another season.
It's also part of those Fred Silverman series when he kind of came in, like Super Train and Pink Lady and Jeff and stuff like. Do you know
Pink
what I mean?
Lady and
Where he like
Jeff, I
was just
love that show.
yeah, and he was just trying to throw like the same stuff he did at ABC and make it work. Super Train is just Love Boat with $1 million train of
I never ever watched Super Train. That's always credited as the worst television show ever made because it was really expensive and everybody hated it.
It's literally the same idea as Love Boat, where there's like a train that travels the country and
Wait,
there's always new celebrities that or new people that show up on it.
Steve, why weren't you allowed to watch Cliffhangers? I'm curious about this. Was there something terrible about it? Maybe it was like, was it on the Catholic list of stuff you weren't supposed to watch?
It was on at like 8 o'clock too, so it wasn't on late or anything. I remember that like a lot of my friends weren't allowed to watch Three's Company because it was dirty.
Oh, I remember people saying
Is it
that.
really? Yeah.
All the preachers used to talk about that. That became fodder for, Jimmy Swaggart and people like that. Would be like that
Yeah.
filth on television that they call and solid gold. It's solid filth. That's like verbatim, something I distinctly remember hearing on a Jimmy Swaggart TV show.
The other show that my mom would say to me, don't tell kids that I allow you to watch it, was Soap. Because she's like,
Yeah.
people are really upset about Soap. Because it has
Billy Crystal. There was a trans character too,
Yeah.
wasn't there? Or was that Billy Crystal?
Yeah. No, Billy Crystal was, I thought, like a gay character.
Yeah, he was a gay character, but there were a couple different characters on there that were considered controversial for the 70s.
I like that show. I mean, it's funny that it's one of those weird shows too where Benson spins off from it, and Benson's like a totally different genre. It's just a straight up like so like self-aware. You know what I mean? Versus Benson's just like a basic sitcom.
Yeah, it was much more family friendly.
Nora said she grew up with Ernest Angley. I have a holographic picture of Ernest Angley downstairs. One of my best friends I grew up with. We watched Ernest Angley religiously, and we every Sunday morning he'll text me about him. So even today, will text me something about Ernest Angley.
We have an Ernest Angley Christmas card. And every year at Christmas, we get it out and we hang it on our refrigerator. In fact, sometimes we forget to put it away even after Christmas is gone. So it might still be on our fridge right now.
Oh, man. Too Close for Comfort. Monroe was never gay on that show, right? He was like always just kind of he's like, there's an episode where that girl, speaking of female and male rape, there's an episode where he's assaulted on it. That's those special episodes of sitcoms. We're like, oh, I'm not supposed to, not that I'm supposed to laugh at that, but this is the one you're not, like when, they get locked in a refrigerator, or like the guy that owns the bike shop is all over Arnold. Those are like the special episodes.
No, Too Close for Comfort. Monroe was just sort of like sexless.
Yeah.
There wasn't really, I think it was just assumed he was gay because of his mannerisms, but it was never really addressed on the show, I don't think. Because I used to watch for that kind of stuff. I liked Too Close for Comfort. I watched it.
I love Ted Knight, though.
Ted Knight is really funny. Favorite. Yeah, I liked it. I liked all the characters on there, and I loved that the girls lived in this apartment that had that zigzag pattern of the stripes on the wall.
Oh yeah. And he drew the comic strip Cosmic Cow. I remember that too, which I always found funny. I like Ted Knight's great and everything though. So, but yeah, there were always episodes of those shows where it was like we're gonna scare kids, or there's a kid that shows up that the kids on the show have never met before, and he's a drug dealer. They'll never meet him again. You know what I mean? Or has like a bad life, and you'll never see that kid again.
You mean fake out new characters? I loved stuff like that on series.
Yeah, where they're like, "Hey Arnold, you want to be cool? Yeah, smoke this cigarette." And he's like, "I don't want to do that." And then he gets ostracized, and then that kid gets arrested.
Obviously.
Yeah. I was obsessed as a kid though, because all the NBC shows would spin into other shows. Like I see that Vince brought Facts of Life, like Facts of Life, spun off from there with Mrs. G. Moved off, and from being their housekeeper to doing her own thing. Hello Larry also spun off from Different Strokes, a show that lasted like no time, like a season and a half. So, sitcoms.
I don't remember a lot of that stuff. Even though I watched it all the time, like I don't really remember a lot of those shows.
Do you know what I used to do to my brother? Right, my brother can't read, as you know. So
I don't know that. I don't know that.
He had dyslexia growing up, and like he can read, but he's not a great reader, right? So I would always tell him when one of those special episodes would happen. I would tell him, "Hey, I was reading a TV guide, and this is the last episode, and Arnold dies, and this is how it ends." During the bike shop episode, I told him that. He ran out and started crying, and my mom was like, "What's wrong?" He's like, "Arnold's going to die in this episode." Of course. She's like, "Did Sam tell you that?" Yeah, and boy, I was in a lot of trouble for that.
Sam. Oh my God.
Yeah, 9-year-old me is kind of insidious. But think about it. Like, would they really kill off Arnold on this show, like a top-rated show? Come on. A scary murder mystery. What a review. That's not really a review as much as it's just a matter of fact, right?
Yeah, it's a review, and it is a matter of fact. The New York Times was not exaggerating.
Yeah. It is a movie. New York Times.
Rated GP.
That's still crazy.
Well, GP was PG, sort of. Like, I think that was what they were. It was, anybody could go see it, but parents were to be cautioned.
Have I ever mentioned my feelings on Mimsy Farmer?
Yeah, Mimsy Farmer? She's not in this.
Jello thing.
Mimsy Farmer's in Four Flies on Grey Velvet.
That's the one I'm thinking.
You're just messing with me.
I am. I'm tired from that yard sale.
You remember Psycho?
I've heard of Psycho.
There are scenes with that kind of impact, Sam. It's worth seeing.
Ah. Have you heard of Carlo Ponte, the producer of Dr. Zhivago?
Yes.
He's bringing us a new movie.
And what is it?
It's called Torso. And it's a lot like Dr. Zhivago, except a man uses a hacksaw to cut up a bunch of young girls.
It sounds like an artistic achievement.
It is. The psychosexual world of a lunatic.
This is my happening, and it freaks me out.
I get so excited thinking about Carlo Ponte being called out in that fucking trailer. It makes me laugh every time I think about it. Like it's like it works.
Who was that for? Like, who were they?
Torso.
They were. I know, but I mean, like, who did they intend to sell a ticket to?
Some people are like, I love Dr. Zhivago. Of course, I would like to see this. I just talked about that because behind locked doors is tagline on the poster was a love story that's a lot like Psycho, and they like italic love story in Psycho. No, not that one. So Sad About Gloria. That's the one that does it, where they like called out that it's kind of like Love Story and kind of like Psycho. But is it? I would argue no, it's not.
These are from my main series, Banger Main specifically.
Oh,
But Brewer, Maine is only a very short distance to Bangor, and I guess it was the sister city. And
yeah.
this is from the Brewer Drive-In. The Brewer Drive-In is the reason I did this whole series, because I clipped a bunch of ads when I originally started doing Groovy Doom, and I just sort of like abandoned it and never went back to it. So I was like, I am going to explore the Banger papers, particularly the Brewer Drive-In.
This double feature is.
What do you think of Justine? I don't think I know what that is.
It's. I'm wondering. It's not the Jess Franco. Not. Yeah, Justine.
Lawrence Durrell's Justine.
Yeah, I know that there's a lot of like this odd kind of movies that came out around that time.
You know what that makes me think of? The Hypnotic Eye. Remember, the mad hypnotist assistant was Allison Hayes, and her character's name was Justine, and she would actually hypnotize the women into disfiguring themselves. And there's that scene where the lead character Marsha has her in her apartment, and she's like, "My name's Justine. We were friends at school. You'll go to the door and get rid of David." It's amazing, Justine.
Wow. Justine.
At the end, she rips her face off. That's my favorite moment in any movie, is when a character rips off what is revealed to be a false face and there's something underneath.
I'm gonna adjust myself here. And get Andy the cat. Come here, Andy.
Oh, Andy. I'm glad Andy's here because this is an Andy Milligan double feature.
Oh, I love it, Bill. I love it.
This is another Andy.
Torture Dungeon's great. The Bloodthirsty Butchers is wonderful.
Which do you like better, Andy? Do you have a preference between these two?
Andy, which one do you like? Torture Dungeon. Better title.
Z-Man was Superwoman, Beth. Not Wonder Woman, Superwoman.
He's mentioned in a Misfits song in TV Casualty. They mentioned him.
I really regret the direction that the Z-Man character went in Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. Can I just say? Because he was obviously the most interesting person in that whole circle of people.
Yeah.
Oh, and that scene where Casey gets into the swimming pool, she like strips down to her panties and just like takes a walk through Z-Man's pool and comes up the other side, and she has her hair all pinned up so it doesn't get wet. It's all like in this one fluid movement. It's genius.
The whole movie is.
Yeah. Everything about it. But anyway, we're talking about Bloodthirsty Butchers and Torture Dungeon right now.
Yes.
I just don't know what to say.
I mean, can you imagine seeing both of them in one night?
Yeah, this was just like something that was at the drive-in. I would kill to see this lineup on a drive-in screen today. And people these were the throwaway shit movies that nobody wanted to see. Or that, people who liked really good movies didn't like these kind of films.
No.
We don't feel that way.
No, I love it. Oh, I know how much you love this movie.
Yeah. It's
kind of show that.
What's that?
I want to show this one.
This is one I've always wanted to do, but I think I looked for it and I couldn't find it streaming anywhere, so I just figured we'd do it eventually. It'll show up on YouTube eventually. It might be there now. I'd love to do the Honeymoon Killers. I'd like to do a double of Night of the Living Dead and the Honeymoon Killers.
Ooh, I love this.
They're two movies that they really remind me of each other, even though the subject matter is totally different. But the presentation of both of those films is the black and white photography. It's just gorgeous in both cases. And it was probably really super cheap at the time they did it. That's why they look that way. The Honeymoon Killers has some genius moments. Like, Oh, in one of the victims' houses, I think their last victim, Delphine, she has this little sitting room, and she's like, my father used to come back here and sit back here, or my husband. And that room is just amazing. I want my own little sitting room, like in the Honeymoon Killers.
Oh.
Shirley Stoller is gorgeous. I think she is gorgeous.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with it.
They're obviously like body shaming her in these ads.
It's funny. I was talking to somebody this week about Night of the Living Dead, and an editor that I'm friends with, and they said, "Has any movie had more people cash in on it and make their own versions or make their own money off it, even to this day?" Like everybody involved with Night of the Living Dead, like Hinsman and Russo and all these guys, just did their own movies or their own like they all built these like weird little side careers of carny hucksterism off of one movie. Like you don't notice that with like, you know, not everybody from the Honeymoon Killers made their own versions of.
Yeah.
Like you have Flesh Eater with Bill Hinsman playing the first zombie again. You know, it's just weird to me.
This is a great shot too. Of course, nothing like this happens in the film.
Yeah. But
Tony LoBianco is great in this movie too. I know I rave about Shirley Stoller all the time, but Tony LoBianco he's great. He has that great vibe of a gigolo. He really pulls that off so well. He's very believable as a suave, easily, you know, he's kind of a sexy guy, and he manages to get these women to do whatever he wants them to do just by showing them a little attention.
Yeah.
But he's not quite super hot, you know. He's just like a little bit beneath someone who could truly be successful. He's just sort of like, you know, this cretinous kind of character, and who's also very charming.
I heard this amazing urban legend this week. I brought up the Misfits before, Bill, that Ian MacKaye was in Minor Threat and Fugazi. He said that he heard a rumor, because, you know, there was no internet, that the Misfits only played one concert a year. They would only play on Halloween, and they were all crippled. And they all had like giant braces all over their bodies, and their faces were destroyed. And that's why they wore makeup. And that's partially true because one of the guitarists, Bobby Steele, had leg braces from diseases in his childhood, and he always walked with a cane. But like the idea that there's a scarred up punk band that only plays one show a year and then disappears for the rest of the year is pretty awesome.
That's a great concept.
It is a great concept. So
Lee, we did do Frightmare. That's the movie we did. We did the Flesh and Blood show first. Yeah. Pete Walker's Flesh and Blood show, and Jen Upton was on. And then we were going to do Death Game as the second film.
Oh, well, yeah.
And for reasons of copyright infringement or whatever, every copy of Death Game that was online was removed. So we did Frightmare instead.
Speaking of Jen, her book is up on Amazon for pre-order.
Yes.
If anyone's interested, her book on Japanese film. She just put it up tonight. If you follow her on the Facebook, she has a link up there.
So. I probably have the picture in my downloads folder if I just scroll around a little bit.
Yeah, so that'll be cool. And I forgot we showed Flesh and Blood show. And I think it was a drive-in last year. We saw the other Pete Walker, the one movie he did for Canon, House of the Long Shadows, which is totally unlike any other Pete Walker. It's a really calm Pete Walker movie. It's pretty chilled out by comparison to his older stuff, but you know. Mike really likes Tony LoBianco. I'm learning a lot tonight as he brings that up.
There's that great shot where he takes off his pajamas and you see his naked ass. That's kind of an interesting moment.
Oh, man.
Well, it's gross too because they've just killed the old woman.
Oh
It's like
yeah.
this weird sort of sexual charge that they got from murdering this woman. Here's something just for you, Sam.
Oh. Oh.
This may
That's
be
a
the
beautiful.
first time that Martin was screened in a theater. This was December 1976.
Was it the 3.5 hour long black and white one that we'll never see?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. Oh man. That's a great ad.
It's the only one of its type, and I didn't know it
Yeah.
existed till I was watching some stuff on Martin, and it flashed across the screen. So I did an immediate internet search in the newspaper archive and found it.
Oh.
New Jersey, I think this was.
I'm frozen, by the way, so if you can't see me move.
Oh, you were moving just a second ago.
Am I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, now you've frozen.
Yeah, I think my whole computer froze. So if you don't see me move for the rest of the episode, don't be weirded out. Hopefully you can still hear me for a while.
Can you see the ads that I'm putting up?
I'm looking at them on my phone.
Oh,
I
okay.
can see them on my phone, but I cannot. I can't access anything on my computer. So, but let's just go with this while the tech's still working, right? But I can see the Don't Look in the Basement ad with the female response.
Yeah, I mean, what the hell? This was just crazy. This makes it look like a porn double feature. Don't Look in the Basement and the female response. I think we lost Sam. I really think we just lost Sam. So I'm going to try and refresh my screen. Don't anybody go anywhere. We'll be right back. Okay. So I'm back on, but Sam is not back on. So we'll hang out here for a little bit and see if Sam is able to rejoin our broadcast. But yeah, this ad is for Don't Look in the Basement is from Canada, which there often was a very unique ad campaign that ran in Canada for even the most familiar of films. And of course, Don't Look in the Basement has an iconic ad campaign for it. I just made a guest appearance last night on It's Another Horror Podcast, which was a lot of fun. There are a bunch of great guys, Matt Bussell, Brian, and Ricky. They're collectively known as the Ghastly Ones. And you can check out their Facebook page. They're called It's Another Horror Podcast. But they're working through the Video Nasties list. And so one thing led to another, and they invited me on the program to talk about Don't Look in the Basement, Don't Go Near the Park, Driller Killer, and The Evil Dead. So it was a lot of fun. Of course, you don't have to twist my arm to go talk about the Don't Look in the Basement somewhere. So anyway, but this is a very strange ad campaign, to say the least. And this one even more. I mean, there's an actual get down love scene happening there. And that's totally not the movie that is. As if that even needs to be said. So what else should I mention? Oh, next weekend is the Super Drive-In Monsterama at the Riverside Drive-In in Vandergrift. And Sam and I are both going to be there next Saturday night. So we're not going to do a show that night. But we will be back the following weekend. I'm not sure if it's going to be a double feature or a late movie. I have to check my schedule, my work schedule, to see what I'm going to be able to pull off that night. But otherwise, I will be posting that on the Groovy Doom Facebook page. We'll let you know exactly what movies we're going to be showing the next time we're on. In the meantime, Maybe Sam and I will do some posts from the Monsterama. We always say we're going to do that, and we totally never do. But I don't know, because the reason is because the internet connection is so bad out there. I'm totally on Wi-Fi, and there's no way for us to do this chat environment from out there. It's just a little intimidating. Maybe we'll be able to post something from there. And we want to thank you for hanging out tonight with us. It's been a lot of fun watching Look What's Happened to Rosemary's Baby. I'm glad a lot of you seem to like it, other than Nora, except for Nora. Nora, I know you hated it, but I kind of knew you were going to hate it. And I'm glad you keep hanging out with us, even though we show you movies like The Child and Look What's Happened to Rosemary's Baby. So I'm getting a lot of. I don't know whether I should totally sign off because Sam is trying to come back. Here he is.
Whoa. Hey.
Let's see. There he is.
Hey, sorry guys. Technical issues. I'm on my phone now.
Is it because your internet went out?
No, I think I just had a crash on my computer. I have an ancient Mac. So I think it just was. Sometimes it gets tired. You know?
So I was just about to sign off, but maybe there's some stuff you wanted to say. I don't know what we're going to show the weekend that we come back from the drive-in because I'm not sure yet if we can do a double feature or if that has to be a late movie.
Yeah, we have some movies planned that we've talked about this, so that's good.
Yeah. And we showed the trailers for two of them, one of them being Trick or Treat, the other Prom Night 2, Hello, Mary Lou.
I'm going to save talking about those until usually I talk about how much I love the movie before we show it. I'm going to just save up that energy about both those movies. But yeah, and I have some interview stuff with the writer of Trick or Treat, Joel Susan, who also did Prophecy, not the bear movie, but the one with the evil satanic kind of stuff. He did that movie too. He did a ton of sequels, all the Miramax sequels, all through the 90s and 2000s too.
Oh yeah, that series kept going for a while.
And he was in the art department on Superstition, a movie. He's like, "Why the fuck do you like that movie?" And I was like, "Let me tell you why I love Superstition." Another movie we should probably show that I would talk about for way too long.
You and me both. I love Superstition.
Yeah. He
said, "Shut your bitchy mouth."
He said, "Why do you like that movie so much?" I'm like, "It hates every character in it. Like, it's a movie that hates its entire cast." He goes, "It's a movie that hates its audience too, Sam." And I was like, "Yeah, I guess you're right."
He's not right. You're right.
I love that movie, and I like Ghost, the Witch Story, the not sequel to it too. So I could, talk about any of those with no prep. But yeah, excited for that, and excited for the drive-in next week. Look all this week on BNS About Movies for capsule reviews of all the movies that are playing if you want to get excited about them, and recipes, and there will be the recipes I'm bringing out to the drive-in, which is pretty rad, right?
It's always rad.
Yeah.
You really take good care of us at the drive-in, so thank you. I really appreciate that.
Spoiler, one of the two drinks for the first night, one's an Orange Julius ripoff with alcohol in it, and the second one is like a sorority party kind of drink with Hawaiian Punch. It's gonna have like a lot of alcohol and a lot of like sugar.
A sorority party kind of drink?
Yeah, exactly. I looked up like what are the most popular drinks at sororities, and I based it on that for Slumber Party Massacre and Sorority House Massacre.
What is the most popular drink at a sorority?
Hunch Punch. That's what this is. It's like the other one too now is there's these drinks called I can't remember what they're called. They're like literally you take a bottle of Gatorade and you load them up with grain alcohol. And they're called like bombs or something, and that's like, or you take like a bottle of water, put in like different flavor packets, and then fill it with alcohol and drugs and stuff. And I actually asked somebody whose daughter's a freshman at work. She's like, "Yeah, my daughter drinks those all the time." Borgs, they're called. They're like literally like grain, obliteration something devices, and she's like, yeah, all the kids drink Borgs now. Man, I'm gonna go back to college at some point and be like one of those, old characters in a movie. It's like, I don't know what you kids are doing, drinking your Borgs. But yeah, I'll be something like that. And then I don't know what the next thing. I'm probably gonna be writing all night tonight, so I'll come up with the recipes for the other ones. But I mean, think about it. This time next week, we're gonna be watching, probably getting ready for Silent Madness. That's pretty rad.
I get bummed out about this time next week, Sam, because I realize it's the last movie of the Monsterama.
That drive home is the
Yeah.
sad drive home. I hate it.
It's brutal. It's really brutal. That's the Saturday night drive home. Because not only are you bummed out, it's really super late. On the second night, you've been up till 4 o'clock in the morning or later.
Yeah.
And you got an hour's drive ahead of you.
I'm gonna think about more about the drive out on Friday when I'm beyond like bonkers, bounce off the wall, excited to get to the drive-in and get a pizza burger. That's what I'm excited about.
Yeah,
it's here. I'm excited. I'm seeing every movie that's playing. So the thing I'm most excited about is seeing everybody, and I'm most excited to watch Slumber Party Massacre 2 with you, because I'm really excited to see what you think of it, because I think you're going to love it. I think you're going to lose your fucking mind during it, and I'm excited to be there for it. In the same way that I was excited to watch Lizard and the Woman's Skin with you, because you're like, oh, I love this movie. Like, that's the kind of joy that I like getting from movies.
Another thing I'll say is that it's easy to skip out on the fourth movie.
Yeah.
Because by that time, nobody's hanging out anymore. Like, everybody's in their own cars. You know, you really only do most of the hanging out in the first couple movies. And like by the third and fourth, we're all just sitting in our own cars, like having a quiet moment. Because, Mark's asleep, Becca's asleep. And you and I text each other usually during the movie.
I will say the two best experiences I've had at that time when it's super quiet is Trick or Treat, the scene where Sammy Kerr first appears on stage, and like hearing like the loud noise of him clapping and getting the crowd started. The driving was awesome. And then the beginning of I Drink Your Blood with the Satan speech about Satan's an ass. Hearing that pouring out of everybody's cars, oh man, that's why you go to the drive-in, right?
That happened to me when they showed the Dr. Fives films. Mm-hmm. And that organ, that's the beginning of the first one, like that dirge that he plays. Oh, no, it's not really a dirge, but that was coming out of everybody's car speakers, and it sounded fucking amazing. One of my best memories.
I'd like to say this week there's a Mario Bava Day on the site, and I finally watched 4 times that night, and I'd never seen it. Holy shit, I loved it. That movie's awesome. It's like, and what's great about it is it's like, oh yeah, like every Italian director made, La Commedia de Sexy, like the sex comedies, but like it's like a Mario Bava version of it. And it's like, there's one scene where a girl's on a swing talking to another girl, and every time they switch point of views, the camera comes in and does like a push in, like we're seeing the point of view of the girl on the swing. I was like literally yelling at the TV. I was so excited. I'm just gonna do commentary tracks of me just yelling.
I love the sound of that already.
Yeah, Maestro, you were a genius, I said. So, and yeah, I hope I can get through this week of work. I called off Friday, Bill. Can you believe that?
You told me that you asked for it off.
Yeah, my boss is like, I can't believe you're asking for a day off. I was like, yeah, let's do it.
I can't believe you're not really asking for a day off, because you're going to end up doing something anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to just end up writing for the site anyway, but, But what my goal is to get a good night's sleep, because the honey bear incident happened because I worked like a 12-hour day, and then attempted to
the infamous honey bear incident.
Yeah, and then attempted to do a lot of edibles, and I was like, surely I'm in my early 50s. I'm a young person. Surely this won't dramatically affect me.
No, not at all.
Not at all. But, so I'm trying to avoid that so that I can be more awake. That's a goal.
All right. Well, thanks to everybody who came and hung out with us tonight to watch this groovy 70s TV movie. Look What's Happened to Rosemary's Baby. And we'll be back again, not next weekend, but the weekend after that. So look for our announcements about what we're going to be showing. We will be back to hang out and watch fantastic films. Good night, everybody.
See you guys.
Under 17 not admitted without parents or guardian. Under 17 not admitted without parents or guardian.